Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ridertown Radio. Yes,
Hello.
we're back after our completely and totally unplanned absence from last week,
Yep.
which, by the way, was completely and totally unplanned.
Yep.
Yes, last
Life
week,
life is a bitch.
indeed.
Yep. And this week, since our Noble isn't here,
Yes, we left crap. The curse of the bad tongue is
not
still.
only has Noble left us, but your ability to talk has as well.
Yes, indeed. 1 week off the air, and my tongue has already gone completely. Bleh.
Yep.
This is why you do a podcast every week, folks. That way you can actually get good at talking.
Yep.
But yes, Noble is not here. He left us a note in the radio tower basically saying he was off hunting a giant orange one-eyed snake. Why? I have no idea.
It's just the thing Noble does, apparently.
Yes.
So yeah, since Noble isn't here and there wasn't really a superhero time this week anyway, we figured why don't we do something special?
Yes, since last week there was no superhero time, I believe there is one this week.
Yeah, there is one this week. This
So we will
upcoming.
be doing a double episode special when Noble returns and we are all here. But for now, we are going to do something slightly different. We are going to have I suppose you could call it a Rider Town retro review? Question
Yep,
mark?
Rido Town Retrospective.
Something like that.
Yep, let's go with that.
Yes,
So
we are
you,
going on a magical journey back to 2007 to a land with a train whose tracks run through the everlasting desert known as the Land of Time.
yep, I have made it. Welcome to Kamen Rider Den-O, a series I've made abundantly clear through the first two episodes. I believe that I do not really care for.
And apparently, not many people do either, whereas I actually enjoyed that show quite a bit.
Yep.
So, this is going to be a fun little back and forth, no doubt. And also, I should point out, neither of us have seen this show in quite some time, so.
Yeah, that's a bit of a disclaimer. I haven't seen it since summer of last year,
And
and
I haven't seen it probably since maybe 2010, 2011, whenever it was I was doing the
yep,
massive Rider Show Blitz.
yep.
So
Let me
we will most likely get details wrong, and also gigantic spoiler warning in case you have any interest in watching Den-O. Turn this off right now and come back later after you've seen the show.
Yep. So I would like to put something in perspective. I when I first got into Rider back in 2009, this it was a very different time back when you could actually post Kamen Rider episodes on YouTube without them being copyrighted into oblivion.
Ah, magical time indeed.
Yep. So it was around this time, I believe it was either late 2009 or early 2010. I began watching Den-O. I got okay, so I started it about early 2010, and I got 20 episodes in, and I finished it in summer of 2014.
Wow, that is a long break in between
Yep,
the shows.
because basically I got 20 episodes in, and I'm like, wow, this is incredibly boring. I cannot get into this at all, and to stop watching it. And then in last summer, basically, I finished watching it just for the sheer fact of I wanted to cross it off my list, so I never had to watch it again.
And thus you haven't seen it since, but
Yep.
when I was watching it, I believe I was just going backwards from through the Rider shows because my first Japanese one was Decade, and basically I used that as a measuring stick
Yep.
for the
Same
other
here.
shows. And I basically just started going backwards. I went to Kiva, then Den-O, and then Kabuto, and then skipped a few all the way back to Fi's.
Yep.
I think mostly just because I thought the Fi suit was cool.
Yep. You're not wrong.
That is true, yes. But anyway, so that was how we both found Den-O. And just to give some premise for the show, it's basically about a dude who gets rider powers and travels through time and has goofy
Yes.
sidekicks.
It's the story of a person who has probably the worst bad luck I've ever seen in my entire life. Coming across a time traveling train and getting possessed by some time demons.
Yeah, pretty much. The monsters slash sidekicks of the show. Imagine
Yep.
things that just jump into you and do
Yep.
things.
Who will grant you a wish, and if they grant the wish, they are granted the ability to go back in time and basically destroy time. So Yeah.
essentially. And our hero happens to be a singularity point thing, which is basically someone
It's
who
a it's
doesn't get
it's
affected by time
yeah,
at
it's a
all.
fancy term for someone who is immune to time changing.
Yeah, they never really explain why
Yeah, they
he's like
never
that.
that I guess I should that is my main point of why I hate Deno. They don't explain anything.
Uh, I don't think they really wanted to,
Yeah, but that's the problem.
or actually, I guess they felt like they didn't need to, or something. I'm
You
not sure.
really but you kind of do, especially with time travel, which is such an easy plot thing to fuck up.
But anyway, so yeah, that's our main hero, Ryotaro,
Yep.
the worst bad luck person on the
Yep.
planet.
If I may say, if I guess I should probably just get out the things I like about this show out of the way. I do like his character development, especially towards the end, where basically he kind of basically learns to fight for himself, and without the help of the Imagine over time. Like liner form is just him fighting by himself.
Yes, that is true, because so at the start he is a gigantic coward, and then he has
Yep.
to be possessed by a sand demon in order to fight.
Yep.
But then eventually the plot kicks in and says, nope, you can't do that in certain
Yeah,
situations. You have to do it on
because
your own.
because for some reason the Imagine can no longer possess him when he's in the past, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
They can still possess him if he's in the present, but in the past they can't for some unexplained reason.
because time is just getting all screwed up.
Yeah, again for some unexplained reason.
Yes. Well, where else do we go with this? Let's see.
Uh,
We have the
I
rider costumes. We can talk about
yeah,
that.
I guess that is another positive. I actually do very much like the suits in Dunno
Yeah, the suit.
because ever since I was little, I've always really liked trains, which is why it always pisses me off that we've never had a really good toku series based around trains.
So, would you say you're the I like trains kid?
I guess you could say that. Yeah, I think
Uh,
that was one of the things that drew me to it when I first watched it. Was oh hey, it's trains. I like trains.
yeah, I always thought the baseline suits for Dano were pretty cool, especially the way like they tend to fold in and change.
Yeah, I always really liked that, and I always liked the visors that like transform and attach the face.
Yeah, because his chest armors would like pop open and stuff depending on which form he is. Like I think when
Yeah,
he's in sword form, it's just the baseline red chest, but then
it
when he goes
opens
to
for
gun,
gun form,
yeah, it
and
just
then the
pops
back
open.
thing is for axe form, and then it opens up for rod form. Yeah, I always thought
Yeah,
that was very clever.
yeah, that was actually pretty funny. It's like on the back of sword form, you can see axe form chest and vice versa. It was like
Yeah,
I think it took me a little while to actually notice that. It's like, oh yeah, that is actually pretty cool.
yeah,
And then they just keep getting more and more ridiculous because you
yeah,
have wing form, you have Gao form, whatever the two from that final Deno movie were
yep.
called.
So yeah, wing form I liked. I think it looks fairly decent.
It mostly just looks like sword form, but
Yeah, it's
gold
basically
and silver, and it
yeah,
has big
that is
eyes.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that was kind of the point. But Gao, I was thought he looked okay. I still
Crocodile
don't know
face.
for I still don't know for the life of me how he sees out of that thing. Um, Xeranos, I've always really liked. He's one of my like design wise one of my favorite secondary writers.
Yes, Zeranos, our secondary hero, who is not a singularity point, but a
Yep,
completely different mystery all of his own.
yep, that was yeah,
For those who haven't seen it, Zeranos is basically the past version of Ryotaro's sister's fiance slash husband or whatever.
yep.
That her
Got
fiance husband drafts into becoming a common rider to fight using a belt where it burns up cards that
basically
destroy wipe memories of his future self from people's minds.
yep.
I will admit, this was one part of Deno that always kind of bugged me. It's like, what kind of plan is that?
Yeah, and then later on when Pat like young Yuto runs out of cards, he gets new cards that are his memories.
Yes. His upgrade form basically uses his own memories for fuel instead of his future self.
Yeah.
That is something weird with the show, is like, all it talks about is memories. Like,
Yeah.
whenever
It's
an
less
Imagine
it
actually
is It is a
Sorry.
lot less about time and more about memories.
Yeah, because one of the mechanics for it is whenever an Imagine actually manages to escape into the past, Deno or Zeranos, whichever one, chases them into the past and destroys them, but usually they don't get there before a lot of damage has been caused. And then as soon as they destroy the monster, it's like, nope, don't worry about it. People's memories of this time in the future will fix it. I'm like, okay.
Okay, that's not how time works, but whatever.
No, that is not how time travel works. Although they did have some pretty interesting, or they did have a couple of good episodes with it. I will say that. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not saying Deno is completely irredeemable. It's just that the good is far outweighed by the bad.
I think the big problem with Deno is it didn't really have like a serious overarching villain per se.
It didn't have an overarching plot.
Well,
Basically, the villain shows up about 5 episodes before the end with no explanation. We have no idea who he is, and he's just the final villain. That's it. We
oh
know
yes,
basically
Mister.
nothing about him.
Yeah, Mister Kai, who can
Yeah.
somehow be everywhere at once.
Yeah, he's apparently another singularity point, but he literally shows up like the show is 49 episodes long. He shows up in like episode 45 or somewhere around there, like one of
Yeah,
those
it's like
episodes.
it's very late in the show.
It's like early 40s.
Uh,
So yeah, he basically just shows up, no explanation, and he apparently is like controlling all the Imagine or something.
or at
Again,
least a lot of them follow him.
yeah, again, not ever really explained how or why or who or what.
I seem to recall he had a lion Imagine that reminded me of that one lion monster from the In Space Turbo team up.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe that's just my memories being
Yeah.
screwballed. I don't know.
Yep.
And then, of course, you also have the hero Imagines.
Yep, you have the Taros who I mean, yeah.
Yes, one of them is a big red demon with horns that likes to fight a lot. One of them is supposedly based off a bear who likes to sleep a lot, and his catchphrase is "I will make you cry."
Yep. My strength will make you cry.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yep.
One of them is a gigantic flirt and is a turtle,
Yep.
which that has to be for some very, very awkward nights for Ryotaro when he
Yep.
suddenly wakes up in the morning and finds himself in bed with who knows who.
And that's how Kotaro was born. Well, that's how Kotaro's dad was born.
Oh gosh, it's just a random hookup.
Yep.
uh, and then probably the goofiest or strangest, depending on how you want to look at it, the I would say the most psychotic of them, Ryutaro, the purple dragon dude
Yep.
with a
That,
giant ass shotgun.
when I first watched the show back in 2010, 2010. That was always the subs. That was always really confusing for me because I'm like, there's Ryotaro and then there's Ryutaros. That always confused me.
Yeah, I don't know why they made all of the Taros his last names
Yeah, I
Taros.
believe I believe it had something to do with Japanese folklore. I'm not entirely sure because I know that's what Momotaros was based off of.
Yeah, I know
But
Momotaros was
I
based
believe
off of.
I believe they all were based off Japanese folklore.
That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. And yeah,
Yeah.
but yes, Ryutaro is definitely the strangest of the lot, considering I'm pretty sure he's the one who would resort to almost killing somebody. I believe he
Yep.
nearly killed Yuto at some point.
Yeah.
He also really liked hip hop
Yep.
for some unknown reason, and he had a gigantic crush on Ryotaro's sister,
Yep. It's
which is
not
just
creepy at all.
well, it is if you consider the fact that he
Yep.
possesses Ryotaro.
Yep.
So that just gets
And then
bonkers.
there's Sieg.
Yes, then there's Sieg, who is the conduit for wing form, and he's just strange.
Yeah, he's just
He's very flamboyant, we'll just say
kind of
that.
got like a superiority complex.
Yeah.
Uh,
Superiority complex, and he rains feathers everywhere because he's a damn bird.
yep. And then there's Deneb, who is the only one I actually find bearable.
Yes, he is Yuto's butler slash sidekick slash punching bag slash conduit for Zeranos' Vega form.
Yep.
And the thing that turns into a gun when he uses his Zero form.
Yep.
I believe that's what the red mode was called.
Yeah, it's zero form.
Uh, I will say Deno probably had one of the lazier side forms for a secondary rider,
Yeah, his
considering the
upgrade form is just him but red.
basically he just gets rusty.
Yeah.
The big guy and Rusty. Points if you remember that show, kids.
But despite all of the many problems that I have, that many people have with the show, it was incredibly popular and just would not go away. And even
Yeah.
still, there are remnants of it.
Yes,
Like,
let's see. How many movies did this son of a bitch have?
well, it had its normal summer movie that all rider shows have, pretty much. Then it had the Kiva crossover.
Which was
Then it,
actually pretty good, although it was
yeah,
very bizarre.
yeah, I've never actually seen the Kiva crossover. Then it had the Final Countdown movie, which was supposed to be the last Deno movie.
That one I thought was actually really good, and the battle sequence at the end was awesome.
Yeah, like I really like New Deno is actually one of my favorite rider designs. Um,
Yeah, the new Deno design is actually pretty cool, though the
yeah,
shoulder backing is a little bizarre. It's a
I
little,
kind I always like I just really like the shade of blue and that shade of gold.
yeah,
I
the
was
blue on him is really cool, and his
yeah,
belt is gold as opposed to silver.
yep, because it's actually supposed to be the same belt that Ryotaro uses, just aged, so it's like a pale gold.
Is it really the same one?
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
I never knew that.
Yeah, it's just old, so it's like a pale gold color.
I mean, it makes sense in the long run considering it's got the same buttons on it as the old
Yep.
one. Which that's one thing. Another one that's kind of bizarre about the show is the belt
Yeah.
itself. First of all, it's very simplistic,
Yeah, it's like one of the most basic belts ever.
which that's not really a bad thing. It's just mostly
Yeah.
silver. It's got a little bit of chrome in the middle of it where the lights and such go on, and then four buttons.
Yep.
And for some odd reason, these four buttons correspond to all four of the Taroses,
Yeah.
even though that is a lot of planning ahead to
Yeah.
actually know which creatures are going to
Kind of.
work with these.
It's also kind of a bit spoilery.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, Kiva kind of had the same problem too. Like he
Yeah.
had
But
the
I
futsals
mean,
on his
this was
belt.
before the days of the collectible gimmicks changing your form, so it was just have a button on the belt.
Yeah, that is pretty much true. Back when rider belts were actually self-contained and you didn't need a
Yep.
million things to have a complete toy.
Yep.
Unlike now.
And it was still pretty rare to have a rider with more than like five forms.
Well, you still kind of had
Besides like
five.
Kuga, there's like most riders had at most four forms.
Well, let's see, how many did Dano have?
Uh,
Platform,
yeah,
sword,
it
rod,
was
axe, gun,
yeah,
wing, liner, climax. And if you want to go really silly, the super climax.
yeah, that thing. Uh, but yeah, Deno was like the first rider to have a lot of forms since Kuga, because Kuga, until Oas came around, I believe, no, I think Double actually beat him.
Yeah, I think Double beat him to the punch on that one. And
Yeah, but
then,
until Double, he had the most forms of any rider.
yeah, because he had all his baseline forms and then their
Rising forms, and then ultimate
ultimates or
form, and
whatever.
growing form.
Uh, at least all of his armors were basically simple, so it's not like
Yeah,
it's
they
hard to
were all very
replace.
simplistic, and I mean, like the rising forms weren't really. I never really considered them separate forms, more of just like a more powerful version, just kind of an upgrade.
It was basically the same thing with some gold trim,
Yeah,
essentially.
except for Titan, who actually became purple.
Yeah, that was always a slightly weird color. It
Yeah,
was like
and then
mostly silver, wasn't it?
yeah, normal Titan was silver with purple trim, and then when it was rising, it was purple with gold trim.
Hmm.
Because they were like, oh, it's supposed to be purple, but if we just give it gold trim, we get rid of all the purple.
Uh, and I think his horns got bigger or something.
Um, in ultimate form, he got a couple extra horns.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That is not one I've seen, so
yeah. I've seen Kuga. It's probably has my favorite final battle in the entire, in all of, well, one of my favorite final battles in all of Rider. But anyway, this is supposed to be about Deno. Uh,
yes. Let's see.
I'm sure if you ever see Kugo, I'm sure we'll probably do another. This will probably end up being a series that we do, just the Rider Town retrospectives.
Yeah, well, we have to do one with Noble when he
Y-
ever watches Spies. So,
Yep,
but anyway, back to the trains,
yep.
which
So
those were actually pretty cool
yeah, I
themselves.
always liked the look of the trains. They were interesting designs, and the idea of a time traveling train is pretty interesting. because
Totally
they
not ripping off Back to the
yeah
Future.
I assume they probably watched Back to the Future before making Deno.
Oh, yes, Deno's train is a time traveling bullet train, basically.
Yep.
And then I have no idea what to classify Zoronos as.
Um, it's supposed to be like a steam locomotive, I think,
I guess it's
except with
boxy enough for
except with
it.
a bull face.
Yeah, it has a bull face that flips out to become a drill, and then the thing
Yep.
can spin around and get
Yeah.
helicopter blades and fly.
Yeah, I believe it's supposed to be a steam locomotive because it's a lot like boxier and stuff.
Yeah, I could see
Maybe a
that.
diesel train. I don't know.
Yeah, I could actually see it being a diesel train. That makes sense.
Yeah,
And then all the other ones are just different variations.
yeah. Xeranos, like Yuto and Deneb, are probably the most bearable parts of Deno. But
I'd say they
some people,
probably have the better
they
buddy
have,
dynamic, considering it's just the
yeah,
two of them, so it's them playing
yeah.
off
Like
each other.
I actually kind of found their antics entertaining
Yeah, whereas mostly with the Taroses, it was a lot of yelling.
and just really irritating.
I mean, they had some good jokes here and there,
Yeah,
but
well, every once in a while, but yeah, like a lot of people say you should only watch Deno for Xeranos, but even then, you can't just expect one character to carry the entire show.
no, that unfortunately
Yeah,
does
like
not
even
work.
though he was basically the one with all the plot.
Although one could say that you could also watch Deno for the ladies in this movie, because my gosh, were they gorgeous. You had Hana, who was actually Ryotaro's niece the whole time,
Oh yeah, that was weird.
and then she also turned into a kid.
Yeah, because actors. Yeah, that's the same reason why Ryotaro became a kid in one of the movies later on.
Yeah, because he didn't want to come back.
And because time travel in one of the later movies, they also explained it why they couldn't get Yuto's actor back. He just kind of disappeared for no reason, got erased from time or something. So it was just kind of dead Deneb wandering around, not knowing what the hell to do.
Yeah, that was the decade crossover
Yeah,
thing, and that was just goofy.
and then possessing Kotaro, becoming Vega form with him.
Which that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I always kind of liked New Deno Vega form. It was interesting.
Hana was also the one who kept, going back to her, she was also the one that kept all the Taroses in line because she would literally
Yep.
kick their asses.
Yep.
So that was always fun, at least. And she kept wandering around in short skirts and
Yep.
leggings. So
Right.
eye candy,
Yep.
and then not to mention you also had Naomi,
You
who
always
was
get one in a Rider show. You always get one.
we had like two in Deno because you had Naomi
Yeah.
who they
Yeah.
kept
Yeah.
putting her in these. Naomi, first of all,
Let
she
me
was
let
the
me rephrase that. You always get at least one.
yes, Naomi was the waitress aboard the Denliner,
Yep.
and most of the action on the Denliner was basically
Yep.
in two places: the
I always kind of
cockpit or the cafe.
yeah. I always kind of wanted to try that coffee. It
Hmm.
looks interesting.
I'm trying to remember who it was that tried it and
Yeah,
didn't
they
like
tried
it.
and they hated it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who that was.
I don't remember. I think it was in one of the movies.
I know it
Or
was one of the
was it the show
movies.
itself? Or I think it was one of the movies.
Yeah, I think it was one of the movies. I can't remember who it was though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another thing this show really had an obsession with was coffee.
Yeah.
Because you had the one location, which is the Denliner's cafeteria, cafe, whatever the heck it is, where
Yep.
you always see them drinking coffee, and then you also have the one dude in the back eating fried rice. And then on the other hand, in the actual world, you had Ryotaro's sister's coffee shop.
Yep.
So, what? The show really had a thing for coffee. But then again, that might explain the hyperactivity of a lot of these characters.
Yep.
Just jacked up on caffeine the whole time.
So yeah, I've said this, but my main problem with Deno is just the fact that it explains absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it does have an issue with that for quite a while. It's like, because you always have those scenes where, like, Ryotaro is staring at a telescope that belonged to future Sakurai, and he can't seem to figure out why. Or his sister can't remember
Yeah.
the fact that it belonged to him. It's just like,
Yep.
oh, it's a pretty piece. That's
Yep.
it. His sister really didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, she was just kind of there.
Yeah. She must have just made coffee and was there for those two idiots to hit on.
Yeah.
Wasn't
There-
one of them like a news reporter or gossip lord or something, and then the other guy was
Something
like
like that.
was like a shrine dude because he kept dressing up in
Yeah.
like those
Yep. Yeah,
shrine
they
clothes.
are their jobs were being not relevant to the plot at all, and
Dun
just
dun
being
dun 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 dun
yeah, and
dun.
just being complete comic relief because obviously that show didn't have enough comic relief.
Well, to be fair, this show did come after Kabuto, and that one got into some pretty dark territory. So
Yeah, but still,
that seems to be the thing with Rider. It's just like dark show, light show, and so on and so on.
yeah.
And
But
yeah,
but the thing is, this show it just never fully take like even when things are supposed to get serious and dire, it never really takes itself seriously.
there were some spots where I thought it
Yeah.
actually did. I mean, I'll be honest here, and I've probably said this before, but the finale episodes, I remember I was up late watching these, and there's at one point where they have to get to the Denliner, and they're being mobbed by the
Oh yeah, I
mole
remember that.
Imagines, and so Kintaros jumps out of the train with the Denno belt, transforms, fights them off for a little bit, then tosses it back to Ryotaro, and basically is
Wasn't that a Rotaros?
they
Or
all
was
did it at some
yeah, I
point, but
think they all did it.
the first one was Kintaros, and he basically throws the gear back to Ryotaro and decides to stay there, which I believe also at this point they were starting to fall apart
Yeah,
just because time was getting.
because
Cause,
reasons.
yeah, I think time was just getting way too messed up, so they're
Yeah,
starting.
time was just being completely fucked up.
And I just remember watching that and almost wanting to cry because it was actually sad.
Yeah.
Kintaros actually almost made me cry. I'm not ashamed to say this.
And then, of course, you have the endless list of movies that Dono starred in.
Yeah, most of which are at least in the first
The
three.
first three are good, and then after that, it just kind of all goes to shit.
Yeah, the Kiva Deno movie is kind of just honestly, it feels like an extended episode of the show, but
Yeah,
it's still a fun ride. You get to see what's his face, Wataru possessed by Momotaros,
yeah.
and he looks hilarious with that possessed hair.
And we also got Negadeno, which was the thing.
Yeah, it's just a black version of Momotaros with slightly longer horns that
Yeah,
somehow
it's
got himself a belt.
yep, and then has purple and teal Deno sword form.
Yeah, but the teal on it was basically like flames, and it looked really cool.
Yeah, and then there was the Final Countdown movie, which, from what I've heard, was originally supposed to be the last Deno movie
Yeah, but then Decade,
because it did kind of have some finality to it.
pretty much, yeah. And as I said, the final battle for that was pretty awesome, which was
Yeah,
basically every single one of the Imagine gets their own pass and their own belt and
yep.
transforms into their own form, and then you have New Deno hanging out and
Yeah.
Ryotaro in liner
Then
form,
they
and it's
finally, I really like they finally kill Kamaru Yuki
yes,
with basically like liner form and sword form while holding him down with their swords. They full charge, slash him. The new Deno comes in full charges and kicks him.
yeah,
That was I always thought that was really cool. Like
and
Deno
also
did have some Deno did I will give it Deno did have some pretty good fight scenes.
yeah, and they also had their giant train fights
Yep.
because occasionally the
Which
Imagine would just become giant monsters, and
yeah.
so the
I
train
believe
would bust out all of the guns.
Yeah, I believe that was, if I remember, that was the first time a rider really did the monster gets really big CGI thing, and you
Well,
have to
there's
use it.
Hibiki if you want to count that,
Yeah, I guess, but
yeah,
Hibiki technically wasn't supposed to be a rider series, so
yes.
yeah,
And it had musical numbers. How dare
yep.
it?
Never forget, never forget the time that that a monster was defeated with a jam session.
That is still epic.
Yeah,
Let's not joke
let's
here. That is
let's
amazing.
that is still probably the greatest moment in all of Rider. If you need to get someone into Kamen Rider, just show them that scene.
And they'll just be like, "What the fuck did I just watch?"
I love it. What the fuck did I just watch? Where can I see more?
Yeah,
Uh,
that is also probably one of Decade's best, if not the best moment from Decade ever.
yeah, I'm sure we'll probably get to retrospecting Decade at some point
Yes, the pink rider who crosses
because
over worlds.
boy, that was a ride.
We got to ride the wind. But yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Oh
toy
yeah.
wise, Deno was just kind of mostly focused on the trains because you had every single one of the Taroses actually had a train car for some reason.
Yep.
Like I think what was it?
No
Which
explanation once again.
yeah, Rataros. It was like you deployed a floating hovercraft thing which was shaped like a turtle. You had Kintaros's piece which basically just popped out a bunch of arms with axes on it. Big
Yep.
surprise. And then Ryutaros's turned it into a dragon. He would sit on top of the thing.
Yep.
They didn't really use them very much.
Yeah, because CGI and budget.
Yeah. I mean, they're already using a lot of CGI just running the train, because the train itself was pretty much CGI.
But usually they just used a lot of stock footage of it just going through the sand time land place.
Yeah. Which I'll say, that was actually a pretty cool visual. The idea that the dimension of time is basically just a desert, because
Yeah, because sand.
sand to the hourglass.
Yep. And I like in Final Countdown where they actually New Dino actually fought in there. There was one scene.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the Denliner was painted blue.
Yeah.
Which then didn't stick, because I'm pretty sure it was white again in the next movie.
Probably. Well, because I believe that was supposed to be the Denliner in the future, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's just the owner just decided to turn it blue.
Yeah, why
Which,
not?
yeah, there's a character we haven't spoken about. Owner. The guy
Him,
who
yes.
runs the train and is basically the mentor who kind of says things but does it very vaguely while trying to eat fried rice in the most bizarre way possible.
Yep.
Which I've actually tried doing that. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, basically he gets a plate of fried rice and it's in this nice big mound, and he has a little flag sticking through the center of it, and he will basically sit there and try and eat this thing and see how much of it he can eat before the flag falls over.
Yep. And he finally does it in the last episode.
Yes, in that
That was the true triumph of Deno.
in that very bizarre showdown
Oh
where
my god, that.
yes, where he meets up with I'm trying to remember what is that dude's name.
I feel like if Deno was just that, I would have liked it a lot more.
Just fried rice eating.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what his name is, but basically there's another character who runs the train station or the time station, whatever it is. Just this giant thing where you go to when you're traveling through time. Because
Yep.
apparently this is a very common thing. There's like lots of people everywhere.
Yeah, it's supposedly it's actually like a commercial train, even though you only ever see other passengers on it like once in the very beginning of the show.
Yeah, it's like, where are these people? Who are these people?
Who
How
are
are
these
they?
people? How are they traveling through time? And why?
Also, apparently there's a bathtub car on this train because I know they've made jokes about that a million times.
Yep.
The Taros is taking baths and whatnot.
Yep. Oh yeah, I there's one thing I'd like to say that Deno in my mind is infamous for kind of starting in a way.
What's that?
Like, well, not necessarily starting it, but just kind of popularizing it because basically every show after this until Gaim used it, the 2 episode plot arc format.
Yes, that is true. Oh, I think Kabuto kind of had a little bit of that, but it
Yeah,
wasn't
but
that
he Deno
strong.
was the first one who really kind of like solidified it, and it is infamous in my mind because that is one of the things that made me stop. That was one of the reasons that made me. That was the reason that made me stop watching Deno, and that was the reason that made me stop watching Kamen Rider for a period of time. Because basically, um, just kind of a brief history lesson. I started watching Rider like religiously each week with O's. Like I watched a bit of like Double, but I could never really get into Double because of that 2 episode thing. Like it just was really repetitive to me. I started
Yeah,
watching it with O's, and O's was a little more serialized than. It still had the it still had the 2 episode arc thing, but it was a little more like an overarching story than
yeah.
other series. So that and O's to this day is still my favorite Rider series. Um,
It is hard to beat.
yeah. So, but then Forze started doing it again, and while at the time, well, now I don't really mind Forze. I'm fairly neutral on it. I'm sure we'll probably do a video about it eventually because I do have stuff to say about it. At the
Uh,
time, I absolutely loathe Forze.
You're not the only one. I knew some people who
Yeah,
really hated that ending and still do to this
yeah.
day.
Ugh. I've actually gotten to the point where looking back on it, it's not nearly as bad as I remember it being, because I
Yeah,
think it was I think frustrating going from it's different. It's a very different experience, like just watching a show all the way through than watching it weekly.
yeah. Blitzing it in one sitting compared to following it week to week is definitely
Yeah,
different.
which can by the because by the time Forza ended, I was just mentally like just exhausted and sick of Kamen Rider. So it was like and since at the time Go Busters was also airing and I found that fairly boring,
Yeah.
I basically just stopped watching Toku altogether for like 3 or 4 months. And then Kuroyuger came on and single-handedly resparked my love for Toku. So thanks, Kuroyuger. And
Uh,
then
and
Wizard
now we're doing
happened.
this show talking about Dino Charge.
Yep, and then Wizard happened.
The show of a lot of potential.
So much potential.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that one at some
Yeah,
point.
that is going to be an episode and a half.
Yes, indeed.
Yep, but luckily Gaim saved me from the brink of going back, like being like Kyoryuger, and if it wasn't for Kyoryuger, I probably would have stopped watching Toku again.
Honestly, I haven't really found a Toku show in particular that has made me just want to stop watching it per se.
Yeah,
I mean, the Ninja kind of
it's
did
not
that
that
for a little
it's
while.
not it's not that I'm just not gonna watch it. It's just I didn't have the motivation to just like follow the show and watch it each week.
Yeah, I think the Ninja is probably the closest I've gotten to that.
Yeah,
But then I actually blitzed to the episodes that I didn't watch. I was like, wow, I was missing out. These are actually decent. Go figure.
yeah. That seems to happen. You seem to like a show more when you just kind of blitz through it than just watching one episode a week.
Well, it also doesn't help the fact that like the Ninja has drive syndrome,
Yeah,
where first half kind of meh, second half holy shit.
yeah. I'm kind of hoping that doesn't happen with Ghost.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
But anyway, back
But
to
anyway, we should be talking about Deno. I
yeah.
guess it was I kind of just completely went on a tangent, but yeah,
Well,
basically
let's see
I
here.
hate the 2 episode format and I'm so happy that after Gaim we've basically stopped using it.
Well, Drive went back to it for a little bit, but it kind
Kind
of
of, but it became a lot more like serialized and overarching story,
yeah,
which I much prefer.
yeah. Like one episode, the end of one arc bled into the next arc, and
Yeah,
so
like
on.
it did, and especially towards the end, it basically was just one overarching arc.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Ghost appears to be doing the same thing so far.
Denno's two story arc line. My tongue is falling apart on me again. The way they actually segmented them, though, I thought was decent because like they would always do it on like some kind of cliffhanger. Like the one I remember specifically as an example was, I believe, what was it? Oh yeah, Ryuteros had been tricked to put a, I'm gonna say it's a tampered with ticket into the Denliner and basically sent it on a rampage out of
Oh
control.
yeah, I remember that.
And there was just, and the only person on board it at the time was Naomi because she was doing inventory for the cafe and stuff. And so it's just careening completely out of control and going through like a canyon and smashing on the walls and stuff. And
Yeah,
then the
because
episode
the
ends.
Canyon of Time.
Yes.
Like
And then
why?
basically it just like cuts there and it's like, next time.
Yeah, that's another thing. Why does the Time Realm have like land features? Shouldn't it just be like a flat open plain with sand?
I guess I have to vary it up somewhere. Maybe that's like, okay, now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe the different features in the realm of time are like specific parts of time itself that were like really bad. Like maybe the canyon was like World War II. I don't know why my brain went directly to World War II. I could have gone anywhere else, but I picked World War II because
uh,
Japan.
oh, I think we just hit the Battle of Normandy.
uh,
That rock right there is the Battle of Normandy.
yeah, I could totally see that being a thing.
Oh my god. That I think if that was the case, I probably would have liked Deno a lot more.
the first shots in the show you see are basically just a train running through this desert, and I think at one point they like jump into essentially the Grand Canyon
Yeah.
because this train can fly on its
Yeah,
rails.
because why not?
Well,
I
I
mean,
have to admit, it actually is kind of a cool way to make it fly because the way it works is,
yeah, the tracks kind of
yeah,
appear
it just
as it's
generates the
moving.
tracks as it goes.
Yeah, which is neat. I always thought it like I always thought the trains looked neat and stuff. The designs in this show are definitely my favorite part.
Yeah, the Imagine designs were pretty cool, and
Yeah, like
then,
all of the Imagine were pretty creative, and even if they did kind of tend to blend together towards the end.
well, I think that's because they started just like mass producing them. Like, I think the mole ones were like
Yeah, the
everywhere.
mole ones are basically just the grunts.
Yeah, and then they're the ones now that you see in all the stupid movies where Shocker's back in some
Yep.
way or form. It's always the mole grunts that you
Yeah,
see.
because they were basically just the I don't like what would be an example. Uh, like the basic inves of Deno,
Pretty
except not
much, yeah.
trying, except wiping out humanity in a completely different way. Uh,
Yeah. There are also some fun visual bits in Deno, like the Imagine's dust forms. These were so goofy looking, because
yeah,
basically, when an Imagine approaches you before it contracts with you, it's basically got half of its body sticking out of the ground, and then its lower half is sticking out of the sky above it. It's just this
yeah. That
very
I
bizarre.
never got that. Like, why?
I don't know. It's just very bizarre looking, but it was
Yeah,
funny at the same time. It's like your legs are over your head.
yeah,
You could look up your own ass, basically.
yeah. I always wonder what would happen if the Imagine's like, "Tell me your wish," and like, "I wish for infinite wishes."
They'd probably just be like, "That's not how that works."
Yeah. I wish for you. I wish for you to not go back in time. Damn it!
uh,
I wish for you not to go back in time. So wait, if I fulfill your wish, I don't go back in time. But if I fulfill your wish, I can go back in time. Oh God!
and it just hurts their brain
It
so much they just
just
explode
kind
into a
of just
cloud
kind
of
of
dust.
melts.
Yes, they just explode into a cloud of sand because that's
Yep.
basically all they are.
Yep.
Which even comes along with the effect that when you're possessed, you trail sand behind you
Oh
for
yeah. Yeah.
some reason.
Yep.
Yeah. I think this is probably one of the first ones where they really did possession too.
Yeah. And they love to abuse the ever living crap out of it in later movies, just so they could get like usually Momotaro's possessing just the main character of the current show.
My favorite is still going to be Momotaro's Ankh, where Momotaro's was turned into an
Well,
arm
yeah, when he's an arm.
and
Yeah.
jacked himself onto Ankh's body. That
Yep.
was probably the most hilarious thing
Yep.
I've seen when it comes to
Yep.
that.
And then there was that one time in the Decade movie where Dien summons three, luckily color coordinated riders for them to possess.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was what G3, Oja, and Caucasus, I think,
I'm
or
gonna
something like.
say yes.
Yeah, I believe it was that.
It's like summon these riders, and it's like, and then they see Dien possessing, or not, crap, Deneb possessing New Deno. It's like, hey, he can do that. We can do it too. Jumps on
Yep.
the other riders.
Yep.
That movie was full of stupid, but
Yep.
that was probably
How
a pretty great.
weird is it to hear freaking Ryotaros' voice coming out of Oja's body?
uh, that was a hilarious sequence. And he's
Yep.
just using the giant shotgun.
Yep.
I think that Oja is pretty much the only purple rider outside of like
Yeah.
Oz's Putotira form. Now that I think about it,
Yeah. There's like aside from like form changes like Kuga and Kiva.
I was also thinking Ryugen Grape Arms.
Oh yeah, Ryugen. Yeah.
He's mostly green, so
Yeah, his base suit's green, the armor is just purple. But yeah, he's the only like primarily purple rider aside from like form changes and stuff.
yeah, pretty much. Let's see, what else is there to talk about this?
Yeah. Um.
We haven't talked about the theme song yet. What do you think about that?
I like it. It's Climax Jump's a pretty decent theme song.
Yeah, I like watching the group who sang it, which is Attack All Around. I like watching their videos on YouTube, which is them performing it live.
Yeah.
The sequence that they do for that, I'm not entirely sure what most of it has to do with anything.
Yeah.
Because I
I
know
never
there's.
the
Go ahead.
Den-O kind of came from a point in Rider where the like I'm talking about the opening itself, where the opening didn't have much to do with the show itself. It was just kind of weird visuals.
Yeah, that's true. Because like there's a cake falling
There's a
over.
frozen cake falling over and cracking or something, and like this and Kabuto's opening,
Yeah, Kabuto's was very goofy.
like random green slime and stuff, and
Yeah,
yeah, like and then I think
and then Kagami screaming in the rain for no reason.
yeah, well he's Kagami. I believe that just goes without saying. What Kagami's screaming? What is this?
That's a topic for another time.
Yep.
But no,
I,
just
I
in
still
general with the
I still
A,
have to finish Kabuto.
yeah, but yeah, just in general with like the group that sings it, watching them do their dance number on the live stage, it's like there's one point where the one guy is like singing, and then the rest of them are like kneeling all around him, and like doing something with their arms, and then they all stand up and such. And then I
Yeah.
think at one point during like an instrumental break, a bunch of them like just end up standing there and like pelvic thrusting really weirdly, and it's just like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, I don't know if you've seen any of those performances, but
From start to finish, they're always about to climax.
oh gosh, yes. Momotaro's favorite line,
Yep.
which is pretty much phrasing, all of the phrasing.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much a thing.
Yeah.
Music
I,
wise though, Deno is also
yeah. I.
unfortunately limited for some
Yeah.
reason.
I. The the only tracks from Deno that I really enjoy are the theme song, um, double action sword form, and Action Zero, which is Zero Gnosis theme.
My particular favorites are Action Zero, Real Action, the theme song, and then out of the double actions, which there were so damn many of those.
Yeah, there's one for pretty much every form, including other riders like Gao and stuff, and
Yeah, that's true.
like
Well,
there was one for New Deno, which I actually like. I actually like double. I like double action strike form. I think it was.
I don't know. I don't remember if I've heard that one actually. Now that
Yeah,
I think about it.
it's supposed to like they're all just sort of variations of the same song
Yeah,
with like a slightly different like slightly different instruments and different lyrics.
there was another song. I forget what line it was, but there was another one that they did, which was like all four of the Taroses just singing, but I can't remember what
Oh,
those were called.
that was the climax form version of the theme song, I believe.
No,
No,
I know there's that one, but there's something else that I'm
I
thinking
think that
of.
might have just been a double action climax form. It was
I don't.
just all four of them, maybe.
I don't think Double Action had a climax. I know it had a sort of version of that from the Kiva movie, where it was basically the five of them singing because they had Deneb on that. There was something else that they had, which was like just the four Taroses like doing solo tracks, but I can't remember what they're called. Uh, I do not remember. It's been
No,
a
it is double action climax form. I just looked it up.
the music of Kamen Rider Demo. So many tracks.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
like
looking
and
at
let's
this
not
on.
forget the 50 bajillion remixes the theme song got.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Climax Jump, let's see, has hip hop version, which would play whenever Ryutaros was possessing Ryotaro and doing his hip hop thing. Which that was also very goofy because what would he do? He would basically summon other hip hop dancers just like out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
the ultimate flash mob.
Snap of the fingers, and here
Yeah.
they are. Also, he really liked wearing a hat for some reason.
Yeah. See, but yeah, as we've stated several times throughout this, Deno just would not fucking die. It just
No.
it kept getting either new movies or featured in new movies. Um,
Unfortunately, the last batch of movies that it had were not the greatest in the world.
no, like
The
first we had
show
those.
Denos.
Yeah, we had the three movies that were supposed to be like just the trilogy of movies, but
Yeah, one of it. Yeah, one that focused
Decade
on certain.
happened.
Yeah,
Then Decade happened, and we got the Deno and Decade movie, which wasn't that great. And then I believe was the Chodeno trilogy? Was that what came after the Chodeno trilogy thing?
actually, no, I'm trying to remember what came next because I know.
It was. I know there was. Then I think it was. Was it the O's movie? Then the trilogy.
I want to say yes.
Yeah. So I think it went the Deno O's movie, which The less said about that, the better.
Maybe we'll have to rip that one apart at some point.
Yeah, I haven't seen it pretty much since it got first subbed, and I can still remember. I still did not.
Movie and pretty much all of Oz's movies annoy me because of
Yeah.
one simple reason. When I was watching Oz, I was actually trying to keep track of who had what medals, and then the
Yeah.
movies is basically just he has all the sets. That
Yeah.
never happens in the show.
Yeah.
The only time
Luck-
where I'll
Luckily,
accept it is like Movie War. I forget which one it is. 2012, I want to say Mega Max, where he
oh
actually
yeah,
gets them
I
all.
actually Megamax is probably my second favorite because of the driving guy one, but it's my second favorite movie war because it actually served as a really good epilogue for O's.
Yeah, I personally think Mega Max so far is still my favorite out of the Movie
Yeah.
Wars. But that's a different topic.
Yep. But yeah, it served as a good epilogue to O's, and yeah,
Yeah.
and but the less said about movie war core, the better. Uh,
Yeah. The
just
movie where somehow it managed to be half in canon and half not.
no, just not canon ever at all. No, it just completely contradicts the show in every way imaginable.
Well,
Uh,
the problem is that it is half in line because of the double half. It's actually kind of feels like it's in line with the show proper. But then the O's half is not in line with the O's show proper. So
oh,
it's like, what the fuck?
that movie alone was one of the reasons that made me create my separate Rider World theory thing that I'll probably go in. I might go in depth later in a later video if we ever decide to. Um,
We can
because
play
I've
we can
actually
play
created.
theories in whenever we discuss the superhero Tyson franchise.
Yeah, because I've made like this multi-universe theory that I'm sure I'll probably get into at a later date. But yeah, back to Deno.
Yeah.
We are really going on tangents in this video. Um,
Uh, and
yeah,
here
but
I thought I was actually going to try and defend Deno. What the hell was I thinking?
yeah, yeah. What were you thinking? Indeed, trying to defend Deno.
I will still say that I like it,
Yeah,
but yeah, I will admit it does have its problems now that I'm sitting here discussing it.
yeah.
Problems, problems,
I'm
problems.
honestly surprised I haven't just gone into like a rage-filled tangent because I honestly thought that was what was going to happen. 'Cause I think at this point my anger for Deno is just cool to the point where I just don't care anymore. Like
Yeah.
I was super when I finished Deno, I was super pissed off with it, but now I just couldn't give a shit.
It's definitely not one you would go back to willingly.
Nope.
I want to watch if it ever becomes available in some way, shape, or form. I actually want to watch I think it's like the Singapore English dub.
Oh my god. Now that would make the show bearable.
Just because I want to see how hilarious that is, and I've seen a
Yeah.
few clips of it.
Yeah. I mean, if
Uh,
it's anything like the Kabuto and Forze dubs, I'm definitely
I'm pretty
looking
sure
for.
it's the same crew.
Yeah, it probably is. So yeah. So yeah, we were talking about the movies. So there
Yeah,
was the Ozen Deno movie, which no, and
yeah.
then
It's
there
supposedly
was
the 40th anniversary of Kamen Rider, and
quote
yet it was
unquote
yeah that was
quote unquote celebration.
which
Um,
gave us O's Kamehameha form.
yeah, which isn't built into the driver, which still pisses me off to this very day. Like you cannot make the sound in the actual toy of the O's driver.
What the Tamashi sound?
Yeah, it isn't programmed into the toy.
I thought it was.
No, it's not.
Really?
Yeah, because the form was created after the Forza, not Forza, OS driver was already made.
You think they would have fixed that in like one of the
Yeah.
re-releases or
People were
something?
hoping back when the Super Best OS driver came out, people were hoping that they would. Oh, are they going to put like Tamashi in there? And no, or like, are they going to put like Super Tatoba in there? And no, they just re-released it.
Well, did they even release the Super Tata
No,
medals? I don't
they didn't.
remember. Yeah, so I don't know
Wouldn't
why
really
they would
matter.
need it.
Wouldn't really matter anyway. They did in a roundabout way release uh the Shocker medal. It was very like backdoor roundabout weird way of getting it because it was in one of those super like premium metal sets that came out towards the end of O's,
Ah,
and technically wasn't the Shocker medal, it was the Shocker Rider medal.
ah.
and it had the metal basically had the Shock Rider face on it, but on the back it had the actual logo on it. So
That Nazi eagle.
yeah, so you basically just had to put the metal in backwards to make it look right.
Which is funny. I'm sitting here with a eagle logo on my laptop because I have the shield logo.
But yeah, so yeah, Tamashi, I technically isn't a form that you can possibly ever make in the toy, but yeah, back
Also, because apparently Taroses can generate metals for some reason.
yeah, because some roundabout bullshit. Because
No, it was literally just Ankh saying, "Hey, give me your metal." What
like
metal?
what I don't have.
Jams
Oh
his
god,
hand, jams his hand in and yanks out a coin. It's like,
yeah. So
where the fuck did that come from?
yeah, because he was an arm, I guess, so that just makes him a greed.
No, he was
Unless
already back in full form.
yeah, like
So it's like,
unless
what
just
the hell?
all are all Imagine just secretly greed.
Well, all they seem to want is to get back in the
Yeah,
past and blow things up.
they
So,
do technically fulfill people's desires.
ooh,
Plot twist.
plot. Yes, imagine our proto greed.
Oh god.
Except I think the greed would have been developed long before them, so maybe they're
Yeah.
evolved greed. I
Well,
don't know.
unless the how long we don't know how long the Imagine have been around. Do
That
we?
is true. No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You'd think they'd just be entities that be around as long as time has, since,
Well, they started off in the dimension of time, so I guess that makes sense.
yeah.
Because they're freaking sand, so for all
Yeah,
we know,
where else did they come?
all that sand is just a bunch of Imagine asleep.
Yeah. Oh, that just when you go out there, it's just like, oh, sorry, just stepping on them, like, oh, oh.
They're all just yelling. That would be hysterical.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, and then the final nail in in my opinion, the final nail in the Deno coffin was the Chodeno trilogy.
yes. Episode Red, which focused mostly on Yuto and his, I'm going to say this in air quotes, relationship with Ryotaro's sister, whose name I'm completely forgetting
Yeah.
right now.
I can barely remember any. The only part of that movie those movies I can remember episode Yellow, because you got like complete, the end complete form and stuff.
Yeah, talk about it out of nowhere.
Yeah, she's like, oh hey, I just have this thing. It's like great.
Honestly, the best out of that trilogy was probably episode Blue, just because it actually felt like an episode of Deno.
Yeah,
It actually felt like it returned to form.
yeah.
And then episode Yellow was just a load of confusing. With
Episode
the
Yellow,
end,
which
with,
was
with the end thrown in for no
yeah,
damn reason
it
whatsoever.
was more of like a random decade episode than it was Deno.
Not to mention the fact that why was it called episode Yellow when the end is blue?
I don't know because they couldn't have they couldn't have two episode blues because it's red, blue, yellow, hot primary colors.
Or stoplight or whatever.
Yeah, but then we got G Deno, who
Yeah, that was a
that
weird
was
ball.
interesting. Like, because apparently there's the Time Police, who why has no one ever mentioned them until now? You'd think
And
they would
where
have
were
been
they
around.
for all of Deno?
Yeah, you'd think they would have been doing something during all of that bullshit towards the end of Deno.
Yeah. And apparently they decided to create an artificial Imagine who goes crazy
Because
because,
creating artificial intelligence always ends well.
yeah, very much so. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, I like G Dino's design itself. I don't really mind. It's
yeah,
okay.
it was actually a decent design apart
Yeah,
from the frickin' Imagine face on it.
yeah. And then you got DN complete form, which
That just looks weird.
yeah, I still to this day I still do not understand why it doesn't use the secondary riders, but whatever.
Cause movie form, movie writers, also,
Yeah,
I think there's too many secondaries for that. His suit is not exactly as wide as Decade's.
yeah. But still, they could have just used like because they didn't use Deno because they didn't use a rider from Deno because I guess they were in Deno's worlds for some reason. I don't know.
Well, the
Uh,
problem is that what they did with it is that it's basically similar to Decade's complete, it's where they uses a K touch, but Decades
yeah,
has a 9 slot K touch, whereas the end only
yeah.
has an 8 slot.
But the thing is, but instead of using that does make sense. But they didn't use a rider from Kuga because Kuga didn't have a movie. and instead of using a movie writer from Deno, they used Skull.
Yeah, I will admit I don't know why they used Skull when they should have used like Eternal.
Yeah, what was the summer movie out at? I don't think was it. Was
Was the
this
which movie?
was A to Z out at that point? I don't remember.
I think
Yeah,
so.
I think A to Z
Act-
was out at that point. I don't remember when the
Well,
trilogy was released. Was it
well,
released during O's? I think it might have been.
well, if it came out after O's Deno, it should have. Um,
Maybe. I'll look
um,
it up.
yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now to try and find it.
Middle podcast research. This is professionalism at its finest.
Oh yeah, and of course, since now that I'm looking up the wiki, there's one other thing that was invented because of this: the stupid Imagine animes, which
Oh no, let's not ever speak of those. Oh, it's 2010, so that would have been no, that was before A to Z.
that explains why he wasn't there.
Yeah, that was before A to Z.
So that, and technically speaking, if you think about it, Skull did kind of antagonize
Yeah, but it
the.
technically wasn't Skull in
Well, yes, true,
yeah,
but
spoilers, but
technically it wasn't. But at the same time, it kind of was. So
yeah, I still think they should have just used like Gao or something.
yeah, they could have pulled a Deno Rider just for the hell of it,
Yeah,
but
because it's not like Deno has a shortage of movie writers.
oh yeah, too many movies, too many
Let's see,
writers.
We had Gao, Negadeno, Yuki, now G Deno.
Yeah, it was kind of like Yuki times two because there was like
Yeah,
two.
there were two different people who used Yuki.
It was
Uh,
like slightly different
they were both
somehow.
slightly different. One of them had a mechanical arm for some reason. Used and was an avid Beyblade player.
Now you're finally getting it.
Yep, it's contagious.
This is what Deno does to us.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did like tops a lot for some reason.
yeah,
Let it rip.
yep.
I've actually never seen an episode of that show. I just know
Neither have
the
I.
intro. I just know the intro from an old PlayStation game I used to have.
Yeah. So yeah. So I guess technically the O's Deno movie was actually came out after like a year after these. So I guess
Yeah,
the O's Deno movie was the last one.
pretty much. And
I
then he's
bet.
just been popping in and out of Superhero Tyson.
Yeah, he still kind of, like you still have Momotaro showing up every once in a while, and the
Yeah, the
latest Superior Tyson with Zero Nose, which I actually, as we've stated in past podcast episodes, I actually really enjoyed. So yeah,
yeah, that was a good
I'm
Tyson.
glad Deno's finally stepping out of the limelight, and
Well,
I'm
you
fine
got
with him cameoing, just not being the focus.
yeah. Well, he wasn't really the focus for the first Tyson either, because he
Yeah,
shows up in the first Tyson, but it's mostly just like a side joke.
yeah,
Because frickin' Deanne summons him with a cup of pudding.
yeah. Oh yeah, in the first Superhero Tyson, that really confusing thing about spoilers,
How
how
did
did
Marvelous beat them
yeah,
back in time?
How did Marvelous get back to 1975?
I'm gonna say he probably hijacked the Go Zoo drill or whatever that thing was
Maybe,
called.
I don't know.
The thing
Because
that
that
got turned into the blue Q Rex.
Yep.
Because that was a really smart naming decision.
Yeah, guys, good job. Yeah. Still watch Deno over Super Mega Force.
Oh, any day.
Yep. I would watch most things over Super Mega Force.
I would rather go rewatch Forza over Super Mega
I would
Force.
rather rewatch Wizard than Super Mega Force, and that is saying something coming from me, considering
Yeah.
I honestly probably hate Wizard more than I do Deno.
Looking back on it, it's like, not as bad as I thought. Just still not decent or
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm looking back on Deno. I still just do not like it at all because it has a chronic case of not explaining a goddamn thing. Uh,
Chronic.
uh, uh,
Pond City.
but yeah, but unlike Forza, where I actually look back on it, I'm like, you know what, this isn't as bad as I remember. It's still not amazing, but it also makes sense for what it was trying to do because there is a reason why it was so lighthearted and stuff.
Well, apart from, Kabuto being a dark fest.
Oh no, I'm talking about Forza, but
Oh, Forza, yeah.
Forza, there is a reason why it was so lighthearted
That is true, yes.
because of it was written to cheer up children after the whole earthquake.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to fault it for that, but at the
Yeah,
same
like after I found that out, I was like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah, and I honestly did enjoy Forza for what it was.
Yeah, looking back on it, I rewatched a few episodes, and I honestly did kind of enjoy it.
But anyway,
If I still had a choice, I would still rewatch other series over it, but still.
true enough.
But it's not bad. I
More episodes of that dub need to come out so we can have fun with that.
Oh God, someone please dig up more of those episodes. I need them.
Yeah. We got lucky with the Kabuto one because that was coming out of like the Philippines, but the
Yeah,
Forza one's apparently coming out of Singapore, so that's a
yeah.
little trickier.
Of all places, it's weird.
I know it's kind of funny how
Yeah,
Kamen Rider gets English dubs in Asia of all places, whereas it doesn't get touched over here at all.
yeah. Except for Dragon Knight, which I'm sure we'll talk about eventually.
Yeah, that's supposed to have been our topic for like the last few
Yeah,
episodes.
we were supposed to talk about Dragon Knight for like the past few weeks.
Yeah, I believe we were supposed to do it when we did the Yongo special, and then after the Yongo one, it was supposed to be that, but then we didn't have an episode,
And now we're doing this.
and now we're doing this
And I'm
because we're
sure
a man down.
we're going to plan on doing it next week and still probably not do it.
Well, that depends because we have to do a double episode
Yeah, we
special,
have
so
to
we
do a
may pick
double
a.
episode, so we probably won't even have a topic next week. So yeah.
No, we could do a short one.
Yeah.
I had an idea for one we could throw out. We'll just talk
Maybe
about
we
toys.
maybe we this is us planning on again on an episode of the podcast, but maybe we could do these retrospective things like once a month.
Yeah, it's kind of like that idea. We'll just
Yeah,
find something we all seen and just
like
yap
once a
about it.
month, you guys get an extra video each week or something. I don't know.
We'll see. It depends on how scheduling works out. But anyway, I think we've probably run out of sand
Yeah,
to
this went a
play
lot
with.
longer than I thought it would.
Yeah,
We thought this was going to be like a 40-minute episode, but now it's over
I
now.
wasn't even expecting that. I was expecting maybe half an hour at most.
Yeah, well, I guess that mostly came from the fact that we didn't actually talk about Deno for most of it.
Well, we
We just,
did, but
yeah, we just kind of went on. Well, we talked about things relating to Deno, but we mostly just kind of went on tangents.
well, the problem is that as we've said, this overarching plot doesn't really exist per se. So it's not
Yeah,
like we can really say that this keeps going on and this stuff happens and
yeah.
like
It doesn't have an overarching plot. It just kind of was like the first 40 episodes are just filler.
honestly, for me, the most memorable parts of this show was probably, let me think, the one time where they actually managed to kill Yuto Sakurai.
Oh yeah,
Because
that I actually liked that plot, that arc.
yeah, and because he's not a singularity point, he is affected by changes in the past,
Yep,
and then comes back through Deus Ex Machina.
yep.
Let's see what else was there. I had one else that I was thinking of. There's the one guy who was a piano player. He was kind of cool because all he would do was mostly just play the piano, and he was playing the double action song, which sounds really cool in piano. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
Then there was the episode where future Sakurai actually teams up with past
Yeah, that's
Sakurai
still.
and
I
Ryotaro.
like that. I really like that fight.
Yeah. Of course, we don't ever see the dude's face.
Nope. And it's
He
really
just kept showing up all over the place.
it's really
Just
hard to find. It's actually really hard to find pictures of the guy's actor.
yeah,
I've looked. It's kind of hard actually.
yeah. Because all he would do is just show up, and
Yeah, because
Ryotaro would see him, and then he would just walk off while holding the
he
pocket watch.
wears a baseball cap under a fishing hat.
Yeah, double hats. Why?
Yes, because double action, double hatching.
uh, and then yeah, also the other moments we've just talked about where
Yeah,
with Kintaros and then the train going crazy and all that.
yeah. Another reason why I think we went on so many tangents because Deno has just been involved with so many other writers
Yeah, pretty much. He's
that it's
been
easy to
everywhere.
just start talking about other writer series.
Yeah, because he was with Decade, he was with O's, he was with The End, he
He was with The
had
End.
some
He
of
was
his own movies.
yeah,
There was the Kiba movie, which was just very goofy.
yeah. There's the most recent one with Zeronos with Drive,
Yeah,
which is
and then the Yongo special too
yeah.
was there.
So yeah, Deno has definitely gotten around, but I'm glad that he's kind of finally, at long last, stepped out of the limelight.
Yeah. Now the sad part is though is that I feel like Guy may be taking his place considering
Yeah,
the Gaiden films.
yeah. Well, I feel like the next guy, the Duke and what is it, Duke and Knuckle. I feel like that's probably going to be the last one
I
because
wouldn't mind seeing them just do one more, which would just
yeah,
be a
I want to see
uh,
Bravo and Greedon
yes, that's
personally.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Bravo and Greedon. Give
that's
us
all I
that,
want.
and then you can stop.
Yeah, you can just stop after that. Uh,
I mean, I think the only other backstory I could kind of want to see would be like Yoko, because there's not really they don't really give her a whole lot of
yeah,
characterization.
I would
So,
like. I get, and maybe Sid because Sid really didn't get that much character development.
no, he was a lock dealer that got just sucked into the Genesis program. There's not really
Yeah,
much else to go for.
yeah,
And then he
like
just wanted to be on top, and then he got crushed.
yeah. I feel like we're definitely gonna have to do an episode on Gaim because I have a lot to say about Gaim.
I'm sure we all do.
Yeah,
But anyway, so yeah, I think we've
yeah,
probably run this out at this
y-
point.
yep,
So, some housekeeping to take care of. First off, changing the way these episodes are going to be uploaded. The last two were put up on my channel and our writer channel, and I realized that that is just going to be silly in the long run
yep,
because if you're searching Writer Town Radio, you're going to find both of them. So starting now, I'm going to stop uploading on my channel. I'll just posting these directly to the Writer Town channel, and but I will put up like announcement videos for those who follow it through my channel, and basically just say, hey, there's a new episode. Click here to go watch it,
yep,
and hopefully that'll strum up some more traffic and whatnot. And hey, maybe we'll actually hit our subscriber mark because unfortunately, thanks to YouTube being dumb with its custom URL system, we have to have at least 100 subscribers before we can change our URL to Writertown Radio instead of the long link of garble that it is right now,
yep,
which is stupid.
yep.
But anyway, so that's a change
What's
for
that?
the.
YouTube making a poor decision?
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, so that's a change for the YouTube thing. Also, I'm going to also be posting these on a podcast site, Podomatic, which out of all the options I looked into for hosting our audios, this is probably going to be the best one for us because you can subscribe to the show on the site. It'll give you the audio stuff, and then on top of that, if you want to follow us through iTunes, there is actually a link for that. So you just click that little button on the profile. It'll put the feed in your iTunes, and then you can get us coming down right into your iPod,
Yep,
which is awesome. Now, downside is, unfortunately, there is storage limitations for the free users, but even the pro users have limitations. I found out it's like not really that much difference. It's like free users 500 megabytes, pro users 2 gigabytes. It's like
mm,
whatever. You're still gonna have this problem no matter what. So basically, what's going to end up happening is as I keep adding episodes, older ones are going to be deleted off Podomatic. So if you want to keep them, save them, or just subscribe to our YouTube channel, they'll be there
yep,
forever unless we get hit
yep.
with copyright for some reason.
I
You
don't know
know.
how we would get hit with copyright unless someone's just a dick.
Yeah, I know, right? We're not even using the closest thing they could possibly copyright us with is I'm using show logos when we're talking about certain shows. Ooh,
Oh no.
we're not using audio or any video or anything. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, the archive will always be on YouTube. The Podomatic thing will just be for those of you who like listening to audio and just want to have it coming into your iTunes box. So there is that, and you can find that at Podomatic. I believe it's writertownradio.podomatic.com. So then the link will be in the descriptions for that. And then, of course, you can always just follow us on Twitter. Our links will be there, along with the link to the Facebook page. And last but not least, a shout out to the man behind our awesome artwork, which you're probably seeing right now if you're watching the video. Ichi from Radio Sentai CastRanger slash Ixie Studios. He threw these together for us, and they look awesome, so shout out to him. And I thought you were clapping for a second. I was hearing snapping in the background. It's like, oh, are you clapping? But anyway,
also, shout out to CastRanger as a whole for giving us the idea to make this podcast in the first place.
yeah. Hi guys, if you're
Hi, if you're watching
actually
this.
watching slash listening or
Yep.
whatever. So yeah, and I think that's about it. As we've said earlier in the episode, next time, which hopefully will be next week, we'll be doing a double episode special talking
Yep.
about Ghost episode 4 and 5, and then Dino Charge, I believe it's 15 and 16. And then,
Actually, wouldn't it be a trip? Would it be a triple? No, it wouldn't be. It would be a double episode. Never mind. Uh,
yeah. So yeah, and then whatever our topic ends up being, which will
Yeah,
probably
if we
be
decide to
something.
do a topic, but yeah, and hopefully we will continue doing this Rider Town retrospective series
Yeah,
with other Rider series because I know
yeah.
we uh, all three of us, including Noah, will probably have a lot to say about certain series.
Leave a comment down below if you want more retrospective thingies, because
Yep,
these are fun and silly
yep,
and all
yep.
that jazz.
It's a
So
lot.
yeah,
It's a lot of fun just kind of to ramble on about shows that you've watched.
well, we definitely have to do one for Fies, because
Yep,
Noble needs to watch that.
yep. Noble, get it. Noble, if you're listening, get on that.
Yes, do it. You're being commanded by the Orphanot King himself.
Yep.
But yeah, that was wanted to make that a joke in the intro, but I didn't really think of doing that one
Yeah.
because
Oh well, we can save it for the
well.
Fies video.
Well, if we're looking at the screen right now, your armor is freaking Orga, so you're an
Yep.
Orphanok no matter what.
Yep.
Let's hope that doesn't become a problem later on. Anyway,
I'm sure nothing will go wrong whatsoever.
uh, indeed. But yes, thank you guys for listening,
Why is my
and
hand melting?
oh dear. But yes, thank you all for listening, and tune in next week for another broadcast of silliness. Bye!
Bye. Oh, Yasumi.